Well, hello everybody. I am just checking my recording. Okay, I got a little bit of time. My name is Paul Ellingham, and I'm making a series of videos on addiction. And I thought, what better way to open the table on addiction than throw myself out there and tell people where I'm at, what I've done, and who I am. And so I was born in England, and I am in England now, in 1970, December 5th. And I was born to very great parents, Paul Anthony Ellingham Sr. and my mum, Shireen Ellingham, who are sadly missed. They have passed away. My dad of 10 years and my mum of 2, and I miss them terribly. And when it's times like this, I wish I could, they would be here. Because they were such non-judging, loving parents with all of us, and with all our chaos, and with everything that went on with us as kids, as a family. Even near the end, it was really great to see the unity, even after divorce. My mom and dad come together as friends and love us unconditionally. Any of us could have stayed at their houses for free and just be crazy adults or teenagers. No matter where our ride was going, mom and dad were there. They were always was. We were their babies. We were their children. You never give up on your children. Just like me, I'll never give up on my children. I may be all over the place, but I don't give up on my children. And as a teenager, about 11 years old, I experienced something so traumatic that it's undescribable. I've held on to it for a long time. My mom knew of it, especially, and she helped me through a lot of it. And certain doctors and stuff have helped me, and counselors. I mean, it really depends how to let go. It's such an easy word. Everyone just say no. Just say let go. Man, what a big, thick book that is, eh? Just let go. There you go. You're free. It doesn't work that easy, and I wish it did. But I have to say, as a teenager, I was late to the party in the sense of maturity. I was like a boy who was fascinated with music and actors. And around my high school days, after my mom and dad's divorce, I wanted to be an actor before a musician. And I was in the Emmy Lizard Drama Club, where I did things like Grease, Arsenic and Old Lace, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We did scenes. I was Bobby Bibbit, and that was really cool. And I thought, well, this is my calling. My teacher was Mr. Nattrass, not mattress, but Nattrass. And he said I should go to New York and all this stuff. This was right around in the 80s, and that was kind of the thing to do. It was LA or New York. And I wanted to do that, and I met a fellow named Eric Levine. I'll never forget him. One of the most genius musicians I've ever seen. He just would play piano, play saxophone, play guitar, play classical, play bass. He was unstoppable. And he still is, probably. He's one of the most amazing people I ever met. And probably one of the closest people that know me as we were as teenagers. So, as I got into about 17, 18, and around 18, I started to grow my hair long, and Bon Jovi was out, and Skid Row, and Motley Crue, and I wanted to be those guys. And I started playing the guitar every day in my room, in the in the dark, tinfoil windows with all my Metal Edge and Circus magazine cutouts, and everyone will know this back home. And I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be Nikki Sixx. I wanted to be Vince Neil. I wanted to be John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora and LA Guns and Bang Tango. I was into all of that stuff. All of a sudden, I got really kind of thin, and I started wearing like velvet pants with like jean jackets, and I was into Depeche Mode. I remember that I liked all kinds of music because I grew up with a father who was a professional musician, and he could play bluegrass, folk, and my dad's stories of the bands he saw didn't even match mine, and still don't, actually. My dad's been to the biggest festivals, seen the largest bands in the world, and my mom. So I started to really play my guitar, and I met Eric, and we just started to he worked at a music shop called Mr. Entertainment, and I ended up doing that too in Bonnie Doon Mall. And then when you work in a music shop, at the time we were learning all the songs by cassette tapes, and I was learning cover songs. We had a little bit of our own. We ended up chasing down a guy named Matt Turpin. He worked at Mr. Entertainment in Heritage Mall. He's a bass player, unbelievable bass player, unbelievable guy. I love him still. I miss him. And we had a drummer named John, and we just started to jam. And before you knew it, through Matt, we knew a guy. There was Snowblind was the band, and they were from Leduc. And we met a guy named Jamie Van Camp, who at the time, to find a singer that could sing with that range and do what he did was crazy and unbelievable at the time. And he could pin it. He could pin that scream, and that scream is what we needed. It was probably like in the 70s when you needed a singer that sang like Journey. Jamie was the Journey singer of glam rock and rock. Guns N' Roses. His voice was never sore, he just kept going. So all of us grew our hair, we dyed it blue-black, number 124, nice and easy. And mine was growing long, and all of a sudden, we started doing little showcase gigs. We learned about 15, 20 songs. 20 songs came to 40. We had a roster of about 70 songs. Bryan Adams to Metallica, to SNFU, to the Sex Pistols, to classic rock, everything. It got us working. We were on Fisher Agency, and they would send us out in this big school bus. And I'll never forget my day. We were in these blue condos in Clairview. My sister Zoe was there. And my dad and a big school bus, green bus, pulled up with all our gear and a sound guy and picked me up, and we were off. We were off to Grand Prairie. And what we were doing is 3 sets a night at 6 days. With a Sunday off, that included a hotel and a meal a day, and then you got your pay in money. Most of us didn't have, I always had my dad. My dad was so proud. What a proud guy. He was at every one of my rehearsals. He'd come to Studio City and stand down there, and I would ask him, I'm like, Dad, what do you think? And he would be honest. He would say like, hey, be careful of this, or you sound flat on this, or whatever. And I was a guitar player at the time, so I didn't start singing, because singers were so hard to get. Back then, you're in the middle of Canada. What are you going to do? And so I remember Dad waving, and I went to Grand Prairie, and we rocked it. We went to Grand Prairie a few times, and this story, I could just probably run hours and hours on the music, but we became a really good cover band, and we started getting booked all over BC, lower BC, all the way to Edmonton, the Calgarys, the Red Deer, full week shows. I ended up sleeping in the bus a lot. We were in hotels. I had a massive army bag and a suitcase, and that was my life. That was my life for so long. And I remember my brother coming along, my best friend Trent. We would have eventually have T-shirts made, and we were taking it pretty seriously. We actually had some interest, some, very light. Our heroes were Age of Electric, Smash LA from Calgary. And we were right in the dab of that, and we were trying to cling on to all that, this scene that was happening. And Age of Electric were moving it with Aphrodisiac Smile. They had a tape out too. And Todd Kearns, who is in Slash now, the bass player, he was awesome. Another guy where we're like, wow, And Age of Electric was the only guys that we knew at that time, like it must have been 90, 91, that played the Whiskey in LA. They headlined a gig at the Whiskey. Canadian farm boys, man. We're just Canucks, and they did it. So we looked up to that. And I got to this point of playing music. I like to drink, and it's very strange when you wake up and all I have to do is 3 45-minute to 55-minute sets. So it's an hour and a half out of 24 hours that I actually just worked, or I actually got up and I had to focus. So little things started. I think the beer was the main part. We liked our pictures. We were kind of a bit of a badass band. We started to become badass. Girls liked us. I had a couple girlfriends. We were so serious. And the cool thing about us is we did what Age of Electric did. We started to learn covers. Originals. And with those originals, we ended up making a tape and a recording. And back then, to do that was such a big thing. And all I remember is having my first cassette tape, Hippie Child. The song Pain was on there, and all these tunes that we wrote. And I gave it to my dad, and it had the plastic on it, And he opened it, and it was my first tape. I made a tape. I started to become, this is serious, this is all I know. In between a lot of this, I would sometimes, if I had a month off or whatever, I worked in a store called Divine Decadence, which was a vintage store off White Ave. Mark Frost owned it, and David Lilico was the manager. And I was smack dab in the alternative scene of Edmonton. Some of this scene included, I would go to alternative clubs, the Roost on Thursdays. even like gay bars, whatever it was, man. I was in this scene. I liked my Depeche Mode, my Nine Inch Nails, my LA Guns. A lot of people said that we dressed kind of goth. It was kind of like a Hollywood Vampires type. We emulated what LA Guns was doing a lot. Lip Service was our clothing. Sirius was our clothing. And we just went for it. And we just kept playing and playing and playing. And after this, Jamie kind of got... He never quit. He just got tired. You know, this is a very hard thing to do, because you rely on it week to week. There were some Sundays, if they didn't book us a show and we're in the middle of Grand Prairie, we had to drive back with our own money, and it didn't continue on. So you could see how this would go. And we had some amazing times, amazing parties, man. I'm telling you, we were there, and it was badass, and we enjoyed it. Now, after that, in the middle of, like, I'd say 96, we were still playing, and we didn't know where we were going to go. We had this cassette, we did some photo shoots. We opened for Age of Electric, Smash LA, sorry. And we lost our singer. He didn't want to do it no more. I'll tell you what, man, I look back at it, and it was tough. If you want to settle down and have a family, it is tough when you're in an indie band on the road. So we were kind of lost for a singer, and I would say a good year and a year and a half, and I could be wrong with the times, we just started jamming, and Eric decided to do another project. It was me, Matt, and the drummer hurt his arm. He had a carpal tunnel kind of thing, like an arthritis, and sadly, and I loved his drumming too, John had to leave, and he did, and he went back to school, you know, some of us had our own apartments, and it was very hard. We had to rely on these gigs. And all of a sudden one day, I was just jamming. We had the PA there, and I just started to sing. And it's not singing, it was yelling in key. And I decided to start singing. And I don't know how this happened, but I think it was me, and I think it was even Matt. Hold on. Sorry. I'm keeping that, by the way. By that time, like, we said the word Las Vegas Crypt Keepers. Bam. That's the name of our band. So I'm going to end it right there. And this one will go up. And there'll be music number 2 coming up. I love you all.